Hi everyone, my name is Mansi Thakar and I help secure our products at NVIDIA. I first fell in love with cybersecurity when I realized that it's a chance to be a digital superhero without the cape, right? You're getting to be a hero to an asset. An asset could mean a corporation or a nonprofit, but it can also mean your community, your tribe, your family. In my case, my parents. A typical day in a life of me or for me looks like a lot of meetings where I'm jumping ships almost from one domain to the other. So it can start off with a swarm around LLM security, right? What is the latest and greatest there, and how do I implement that for the company, or how do I create guidelines for the company? After it, it can be a strategy session around enterprise security and identity access management initiatives. So things like zero trust, perhaps, right? Okay, we are at this level, we need to go here. How, right? What are some of the requirements there in the place? My afternoons can look like more meetings around things like with assurance ops, right? So they're, if it's policy compliance measurement that they're doing, like, okay, that's great. How can I lift that or you leverage that to help secure our products, right? Where are the gaps, for lack of phrase, coming, if any? And how do I make that a little bit more simpler and secure? All of this to say, um, yes, it's a lot of meetings. Yes, it's a lot of peopling or engaging different stakeholders is the better way of phrasing it. But I love it because it allows me to dive from one domain to the next and really keep that eagle eye view of cybersecurity versus being in a niche or restricted to a singular domain. One of the most challenging aspects of working in cybersecurity for me, and now over a decade, close to 2 decades later, it has been my own mindset and my own limiting beliefs, right? And yes, these have been influenced by stereotypes, influenced by cultural norms, societal expectations, but more and more so, I see that whenever there's an external blocker, and the blocker could be a gatekeeper, there's a lot of biases and things like that. Yes, they do exist. But when I can shift that question and introspect on whether it is a limiting belief that I also share, or maybe it's a mindset that I also have on some deeper level, um, I'm able to see if that's the case or evaluate or adjust that. And the moment I do, right, the moment I'm like, no, okay, cool, I am a hacker, it then does not matter what the external blocker or challenge is. All of a sudden, the mountain becomes a hill or a hilltop. A hilltop becomes a straightway path. And I've seen that time and time again that the power of my own mindset is so impactful, influential, and one of the biggest challenges that I've faced. So, an example for this would be almost 9 years ago now, I wanted to go to, or I'd heard about DEF CON for the first time. And I was like, okay, DEF CON sounds cool. It's like the largest hacker convention. I was like, okay, this is a great way of getting involved in cyber or getting to understand what is cybersecurity all about. And someone asked, like, but are you a hacker? It's a hacker convention. Like, why would you go there? And I was like, oh, and so I had to use that exercise, right? I had to ask myself, like, hey, do I actually believe that I'm a hacker, right? Or is that my limiting belief as well that, oh, just because I'm not writing up new zero-day exploits, that I'm not a hacker? Once the introspection is done, or there's some sort of like, oh, wait, no, I actually do believe it. Yes, I do. And that mindset shifts, then it doesn't matter, or it has not mattered ever since then, right? On who has asked what or what kind of challenge has been that I've been faced with. I can say that now I'm a part of the knock there as a goon, right? Which is I'm basically defending the world's most hostile network via the network operations. So yes, long story short, it is my mindset and my limiting belief that have been the biggest challenges that I faced in cybersecurity. The next question is, how have I seen cyber threats evolve over my career? And I'll say this, that have they? Is my first question, right? And I say this because OWASP top 10, which is like our top 10 vulnerabilities that we see in web applications, right? You'll see over the years that has rarely changed and very slightly, if even that, right? That tells me that the vulnerabilities are still the same, right? What has changed is our landscape. So previously, think about it, over a decade ago, everything was on-prem, right? And so, okay, we're here, I'm here, my data's here. Okay, we have to just secure this building or this room. Okay. From there, the arena or the landscape evolved to include cloud security. And then cloud security became a domain. And everyone's like, okay, how do I, secure vulnerabilities in the cloud or protect against threats in the cloud? But the threats are somewhat similar, right? And I'll get to that in just a second. And then now our next evolution of our landscape is to include AI, right? And again, people are like, oh, AI, it's this brand new thing. I think if you take it as, oh, it's just a next piece of tech, but let's leverage the same controls that I've had in place and just expand them to cover this next or this evolving landscape. So a very key example of that, as you can tell, I only learn from examples. So I'm very big on sharing them, is around access control, right? So you think about access control as, okay, how do I protect access to only ensure that the right people have access to the right things at the right time, right? So if it was this on-prem, so this building or this room, okay, I may have a badge reader and, key card and this and that, CCTVs, right? Now from there, it's gone into the cloud. Okay, well, I'm going to have the access control to have in AWS, the IAM configurations, right? The IAM policy is going to also apply there too. IAM users, right? Is same control. I've just expanded that into the cloud arena. And now with AI, again, same control of access control or access, right? We're now going to expand it and apply it to AI. And I think that's just very cool. And that has been, I think, how I've seen the landscape evolve over time. But I think the threats and the vectors or those things, sure, slight evolution, but predominantly the root causes are the same. A project or initiative that I've worked on that I'm extremely proud of, and I'll say this outside of my day-to-day job, right, has been around cyberjitsu or Wicked Six. And I'll say that because it's allowed me to connect with others or allowed me to connect others with others, right? And you think like, okay, great, cool, Mansi, you help people get friends. Like, what's the big deal? And it is because in some context here, I did my undergrad in chemistry and my graduate in cybersecurity. So I joke that the only thing common between the two of them is that they start with the letter C, right? So when I started my journey into cyber, it wasn't just a newbie Mansi, but newbie Mansi with a lot of baggage or a lot of questions around, do I really belong here? And I feel like an outsider, and it's just me, and I'm the only woman, and I'm the only woman of color in this room, and what's going on, right? All of those questions, when I started to internalize them, I realized that I was carrying a lot of weight, basically. And it wasn't until I ran into Lisa from Women's Society of Cyber Jiu-Jitsu that I was like, wait, I'm not alone. Wait, you're here with me. Wait, there's this whole tribe and community of women that are here with me. And again, almost an instant shift to drop that baggage, and that relief or that ability to breathe is something else completely. And I've seen that same thing get applied at Wicked Six not too long ago with a young woman from Philippines who reached out and said, Monty, I'm the only female, I'm the only woman here in the entire country working in cybersecurity. Like, again, same feelings of feeling like an outsider, feeling like in a silo, right? Like it's me against the world. Like, how much do I have my guards up all the time? And I was like, hold on, let's do a sanity check there. And because of collaborative efforts between Cyberjitsu, Wicked Six, and few others, we were able to connect that young woman with few others or few other females in her country in cybersecurity, right? Again, it's if you think of it from like, great, one person met another person, big deal. Well, it is a big deal when you realize the amount of emotions or when you acknowledge that, hey, when you feel alone, that is very heavy, and the moment you realize I'm not alone, you're not alone, we're not alone, that shift, that baggage drop is empowering, and it's a freedom on a very deep level. At work, a project or initiative that I worked on that I'm very proud of is something called documentation as code, right? And you think about it in terms of how we manage our policies or our security requirements, right? It's the backbone of any organization in cyber, right? You have to have certain things that you need to follow. Okay, well, how do I enable the developers in a way that it makes sense to them where they don't have to go refer to a PDF or a Confluence page or something like that? How do I codify these requirements so that there's version control in it, right? So that it is expandable, so that it's sustainable, scalable. And that was a very fun project. It is a very fun project. Okay. And then the most important tip to achieve success in cybersecurity, I would say, is to keep an open mind, right? I think once you start putting yourself in a 2x2 or in a box within cyber, uh, success is a little bit harder. Because cybersecurity, that's a myth, right? People are like, oh, cyber just means someone in a hoodie in a basement, just like clickety clacking away on the keyboard, and that's not the case, right? The cybersecurity is very team oriented. It is not done in a silo, and so then to succeed in the industry, again, you cannot be in a silo, or you can, but in order to succeed, it would be better if you're not, right? So soft skills like collaboration, being able to present, right? There are so many vulnerabilities. Why should the management, why should the vulnerability team, why should the IT team, whoever's fixing or patching, why should they focus on these top five, right? Being able to persuade. And all of that comes from being open-minded, right? Realizing that, hey, my stakeholder wants or really cares about this. Well, okay, how do I make sure that what I'm trying to convince them to fits into that, right? Being open-minded like that allows me to tailor my communication in such a way that there's an agreement, there's like, okay, yeah, cool, let's go. And then there's that buy-in, which just makes the project more successful. More successful projects is more successful me, right, in my career. So I would take that as a tip in cybersecurity for success. Thanks.